I guess you can get your ticket over there.
Hey, thanks.
Oh. There was nothing.
In 1977, Smokey and the Bandit roared into theaters like a southern tornado, fast, funny, and fueled by Coors beer. What started as a low-budget car chase movie turned into one of the biggest hits of the decade, launching Burt Reynolds into superstardom and turning the black and gold Pontiac Trans Am into a cultural icon. Filmed on the fly with a small crew and an even smaller budget, it was part comedy, part rebellion, and completely out of control. From real police chases to improvised dialogue and destroyed muscle cars, this movie's behind-the-scenes stories are as wild as the Bandit himself. So buckle up. Here are 20 strange facts about Smokey and the Bandit, plus one bonus fact that'll make you tip your cowboy hat in disbelief.
Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper, make it fast. I'm in a goddamn hurry.
Fact 1. Guerrilla filmmaking got them pulled over. Smokey and the Bandit was shot in true guerrilla style. No big city permits, no strict schedules, and plenty of real highway chaos. The crew often filmed chase scenes on open roads without full police clearance. During one take, the stunt team was actually pulled over by a real Georgia police officer who thought the reckless drivers were real criminals. They tried to explain it was for a movie, but the cop didn't believe them until he spotted Burt Reynolds stepping out of the car. After a laugh and a photo, he let them go. It was pure Bandit energy, outlaw filmmaking for a movie about outlaws. And speaking of rebels, not even the actors were interested in sticking to the rules of the script.
What the? Hey! What are you doing in my car? In the wrong way!
Oh, hang on.
What the hell are you doing?
Fact 2. Half the movie was improvised. The film script was barely a roadmap. Burt Reynolds and Sally Field improvised most of their dialogue on the spot. Director Hal Needham, a former stuntman himself, encouraged it. He wanted real chemistry, not rehearsed lines. Many of the movie's funniest moments, especially between Reynolds and Field, were completely unscripted. Their playful banter gave the film its heart, turning what could have been a simple chase movie into a romantic comedy on wheels. And no one improvised better than the movie's loudest lawman. Fact 3. Jackie Gleason invented Sheriff Buford T. Justice. Legendary comedian Jackie Gleason made up most of his dialogue, including the now iconic line, "There's no way you came from my loins." He even created the character's name himself after spotting Buford T. Justice on a local lawyer's office door in Florida. Gleason also came up with the idea to add Junior, his bumbling son, because he didn't want to be in the car alone. It worked. The duo became instant comedy gold, stealing every scene with their ridiculous father-son dynamic. But not every idea came from humor. Some came from budget panic. Fact 4. The budget got slashed a week before filming. Just days before shooting began, Smokey and the Bandit's $5.3 million budget was cut by $1 million. Director Hal Needham had to scrap several big chase scenes and rewrite parts of the script overnight. Instead of elaborate stunts, they focused on character humor and quick pacing. Ironically, those last-minute rewrites gave the movie its down-to-earth charm. Less polish, more grit, and all heart. And when the cast wasn't cutting costs, they were cutting corners, especially when it came to their favorite drink. Fact 5. Hamburger was code for bourbon. Jackie Gleason had a simple code word on set, hamburger. Whenever he wanted a glass of bourbon, he'd yell, "Hamburger," and an assistant would bring him one. It became an inside joke on set, so much that Burt Reynolds reportedly used it years later when the two worked together again. The cast's off-screen antics mirrored the Bandit's on-screen ones, loud, lawless, and always a little buzzed. Coming up next, facts 6 through 10, where we take a joyride through flying Trans Ams, wrecked cars, and the stunts that made movie history. Fact 6. All 4 Trans Ams were destroyed. Pontiac supplied 4 brand new Trans Ams for filming, and by the end, every single one was wrecked. Between the jumps, chases, and crashes, not a single car survived production. By the final scene, the last Trans Am was so beaten up it couldn't even drive onto the set. The crew had to push it into frame for the movie's closing shot, What you see roaring away at the end is pure movie magic, and a car held together by tape and hope. And that's not the only thing in the movie that wasn't what it seemed. Fact 7. The 1977 Trans Am was actually a 1976 model. The car everyone fell in love with wasn't even the right model year. When filming began, Pontiac's 1977 Trans Am hadn't been released yet, so the filmmakers used modified 1976 models dressed up with 1977 front ends. They added a blacked-out grille, gold trim, and that iconic Screaming Eagle decal. The result? One of the most recognizable cars in cinema history, even if it was technically a year early. And when it came to stunts, those fake cars were pushed to very real limits. Fact 8. The bridge jump nearly went wrong. The movie's most famous moment, the Bandit jumping a collapsed bridge, was one take only. The stunt team used a specially built ramp and precise calculations to clear the gap. Still, the Trans Am hit the ground so hard it shattered the suspension and front end. The driver barely kept control, but the footage was perfect. That single, brutal take became one of the most replayed stunts of the 1970s and helped define the Bandit's legend. And even when they weren't jumping cars, the crew was still faking it in clever ways. Fact 9. Some of the bridges and crashes were fake. Not every stunt was as dangerous as it looked. The team built fake bridges and lightweight props to keep the drivers safe. Cars crashed through breakaway materials, and some bridge jumps were filmed using trick angles that made them look twice as far as they really were. Director Hal Needham, a former stuntman himself, designed most of these illusions. His rule was simple: if it looks real, it is real enough. But even Needham's experience couldn't stop a few goofs from sneaking through. Fact 10. The police cars magically changed models. If you watch closely, Sheriff Justice's car changes shapes more than once. In one scene, it's a Ford Galaxy, and after a crash, it magically turns into a Plymouth Fury. These weren't creative choices. The crew just ran out of matching cars after so many wrecks. It's one of many continuity errors in Smokey and the Bandit, but fans wouldn't have it any other way. In a movie fueled by speed and chaos, perfection would have felt like a lie. Up next, Facts 11 through 15, where we'll dive into the wild origin of the story, Jerry Reed's musical genius, and how a beer run turned into a Hollywood phenomenon. Fact 11. The original script was completely different. In the earliest version of Smokey and the Bandit, the story looked nothing like the film we know. The Bandit's last name was LaRue, the prize was a new truck instead of $80,000, and the getaway car wasn't even a Trans Am. It was a plain muscle car. When director Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds got involved, they reworked everything. They added humor, a southern flavor, and of course the now iconic Trans Am. The rewrite turned a forgettable road movie into one of the most entertaining car comedies ever made. And speaking of icons, the movie's theme song was written on the fly by one of the stars himself. Fact 12. Jerry Reed wrote Eastbound and Down during filming. Country star Jerry Reed, who played Snowman, didn't just drive trucks. He wrote the movie's entire soundtrack while filming. Director Needham told him he needed a song about going east with a truckload of beer, and Reed went back to his trailer and came out a few hours later with Eastbound and Down. The song became an instant hit, climbing the country charts and helping the film reach audiences far beyond the South. It's now one of the most recognizable road anthems ever written, fast, funny, and full of swagger. And that swagger came from a very real place. A true outlaw story that inspired the whole film. Fact 13. The plot was inspired by a real Coors beer run. Back in the 70s, Coors beer was illegal to transport east of the Mississippi without a permit. Director Hal Needham once joined a friend on a real-life beer run from Texas to Georgia, dodging cops and laughing the whole way. The trip planted the seed for Smokey and the Bandit. What started as a joke became a full-blown movie idea, and the illegal beer run turned into one of cinema's most ridiculous and beloved chases. And the movie's most famous face almost didn't want to wear the badge at all. Fact 14. Gleason's sheriff was inspired by a real person. Jackie Gleason named his character Sheriff Buford T. Justice after a lawyer he'd once seen on a courthouse sign in his hometown. He loved the name's rhythm and southern charm, and it stuck. But Gleason also modeled the character's loud personality after real Texas lawmen he'd met while filming earlier projects. His booming one-liners, quick temper, and endless insults were all improvised, making Buford T. Justice one of the funniest sheriffs in movie history. And while Gleason's voice filled the movie, it was the car that filled every kid's imagination. Fact 15. The Trans Am became a cultural phenomenon. After Smokey and the Bandit hit theaters, sales of the Pontiac Trans Am skyrocketed. Pontiac dealerships across the country sold out within weeks. Everyone wanted to drive the Bandit's car, complete with gold trim and the screaming bird decal. The car became a pop culture symbol of freedom, rebellion, and Southern cool. But Reynolds later said the Trans Am wasn't just a car, it was a co-star. Next up, facts 16 through 20, where we reveal how the movie's low expectations turned into record-breaking success, and how the Bandit became Hollywood's most charming outlaw. Fact 16. The studio thought it would flop. Before release, Universal Studios had zero faith in Smokey and the Bandit. Executives thought a southern trucking comedy wouldn't appeal to mainstream audiences. They expected it to fade quietly after a few drive-in weekends. Instead, it became a runaway hit. Word of mouth spread fast, and audiences across America packed theaters. The movie made over $126 million on a $4.3 million budget, second only to Star Wars in 1977. And while the studio doubted it, one man's charm turned that script into gold. Fact 17. Burt Reynolds was the biggest star in America. By the time Smokey and the Bandit hit theaters, Burt Reynolds had become a cultural force. His swagger, laugh, and mustache made him the face of 1970s cool. Audiences didn't just watch him, they wanted to be him. Reynolds later called the film a love letter to fun. It was pure charisma behind the wheel, and it cemented his image as Hollywood's ultimate good old boy outlaw. But Reynolds wasn't the only star the film launched. His co-star had her own rise waiting in the rearview mirror. Fact 18. Burt Reynolds and Sally Field fell in love on set. While filming their wild road scenes, Burt Reynolds and Sally Field fell in love for real. Their chemistry on screen was no act. The flirty banter and teasing looks were completely genuine. Reynolds later said Field was the one that got away, calling their relationship the happiest time of his life. Their connection added emotional weight to a movie that could have been pure slapstick. But not everything on set was romantic. Some moments were downright destructive. Fact 19. A crew member crashed the truck off set. During a break in filming, one of the crew members accidentally crashed Snowman's Kenworth truck into a ditch while moving it between scenes. The truck had to be repaired overnight so shooting wouldn't stop. The crew joked that it was the most expensive nap anyone ever took, since the driver had reportedly nodded off behind the wheel. It fit right in with the film's theme, chaos on the road, and no one ever really slowing down. Still, all that chaos led to a kind of perfection, one that made the Bandit timeless. Fact 20. It became the blueprint for every car chase comedy. After Smokey and the Bandit, Hollywood couldn't get enough of fast cars and wisecracking outlaws. The film inspired a wave of copycats like The Cannonball Run and Convoy, but none captured the same spark, that perfect mix of speed, charm, and southern mischief. Even today, directors cite it as one of the most influential road movies ever made. Every tire squeal since 1977 owes a little something to the Bandit's trail of dust. Bonus fact: the Bandit's legacy still roars. Decades later, Smokey and the Bandit is more than a movie. It's a symbol. Burt Reynolds' black Trans Am became one of the most restored and replicated cars in the world, with fans still customizing their own Bandit editions. The film also revived interest in Pontiac, put Southern culture on the cinematic map, and made outlaws cool again. What started as a low-budget beer run ended up rewriting Hollywood history, one burnout at a time. Smokey and the Bandit wasn't just a movie, it was lightning in a bottle. A film made on instinct, grit, and laughter that somehow captured the heart of America. It turned fast cars, friendship, and defiance into pure joy on screen. Even now, you can feel its pulse every time a Trans Am engine growls or someone hums Eastbound and Down. It's the sound of freedom, wild, funny, and unapologetically Southern. The Bandit didn't just outrun Smokey, he outran time itself. This is Strange Flick Facts, where we uncovered the bizarre truths behind your favorite films. If you love finding out what really happened behind the camera, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more strange stories from Hollywood's most unforgettable classics.